The Illuminati has been a favorite subject of conspiracy writers from Tex Mars, who's an anti-Semitic, to Jack Chick, who's an anti-Catholic, to David Icke, who's anti-lizard. Exactly who is behind the Illuminati depends on the conspiracy theorist who's telling the tale. Anti-Semites say it's the Jews, the Rothschilds in particular, they're always the favorite target of Jew haters, while others say the Roman Catholic Church or the Freemasons, which have nothing to do with each other. Sometimes even include the American Founding Fathers, or the Communists, or the Wiccans, or the Satanists, or the Trilateral Commission, or even the Mafia, or any combination of those among others. British soccer player, now conspiracy theorist, David Icke said the Illuminati are actually reptilian aliens. Sounds like someone has been watching too much of Doctor Who and the 1983 TV's episodes of V. Once upon a time, there was indeed a real Illuminati, but it had nothing to do with witches, Zionism, or even alien reptiles or anything like that. Bavarian Adams Weishaupt from 1748 to 1811 was the founder of the short-lived and extremely overrated order of the Illuminati. Born of a Jewish family, Weishaupt was educated in a Jesuit school. When Pope Clement XIV suppressed the Society of Jesus in 1773, Weishaupt became a professor of canon law, a position that was held exclusively by Jesuits until then. This caused the Jesuits to despise Weishaupt, and there was animosity between them from now on. Weishaupt started the Illuminati on May of 1776. The Illuminati was actually more concerned with politics than the occult, and Weishaupt was actually an atheist. The structure of the society was an elaborate network of spies and counter-spies. Each isolated cell of initiates reported to be superior, the identity of whom they did not know. There were some German Masonic orders, such as the Order of Strict Observance, which had similar structures, so this may have been partly where Weishaupt got the idea. He also seemed to have structured the Illuminati partly on the model of the Jesuits, even though he wasn't fond of them. Weishaupt was a low-degree Mason. He used Freemasonry to recruit other members. The Masonic-like rituals it used by the order were probably just a smokescreen for the subversive political activities. While the Illuminati were Mason-like, and some Illuminati members were Freemasons also, the Order of the Illuminati doesn't appear to have been an actual branch of Freemasonry. When founded, it was called the Order of Professionalists, then Illuminated Series of Bavaria. Later, it became widely known as the Illuminati. The name Illuminati was taken from the 12th degree title Illuminati in the Rosicrucian, which is plural of the Latin word Illuminatus, which just means enlightened. Weishaupt Illuminati goals was to oppose superstition, obscurantism, religious influence over political life, and abuses of state power. But their activities were exposed in 1784 when an Illuminati courier was struck by lightning and the secret papers came to light. Weishaupt lost his position as a professor and fled Bavaria. By the end of the 18th century, the Order of the Illuminati had ceased to exist, period. End of story. The Illuminati hasn't existed in over 200 years, and it was a total failure. There is no evidence of their existence after the 18th century, and certainly no evidence that the American Founding Fathers or the Rothschilds ever belonged to it. The Illuminati was exposed early on, and thus their operations ended. If there was Illuminati today, it's the most unsuccessful secret society of all, since everyone heard about it. It's over 200 years later since it was founded. Still hasn't taken over the world yet. One may ask, why do I keep hearing so much about the Illuminati if it died out 200 years ago? That's a good question, and here's a simple answer. Old legends die hard. Washington and Clary Jefferson were actually opposed to the Illuminati and thought Masonry was actually in opposition to the Illuminati rather than part of it. He seemed to think the Illuminati was trying to subvert Freemasonry during the time it existed. Leo Taxil wrote a series of books claiming that Freemasons were really devil worshippers working to eliminate Christianity. The claim in these books got more ridiculous, even claiming Freemasonry. Albert Pike had a telephone number where he could call the devil. Even though Taxil publicly revealed his hoax, conspiracy theorists still cite his books to this day. Later came a nut known as Edith Starr Miller, aka Lady Queensborough. She wrote an anti-Semitic conspiracy book titled The Occult Theocracy, borrowing heavily on Taxil's spurious writings. She's the dingbat that invented the famous fake quote by Albert Pike about Freemasons worshiping Lucifer. She gives absolutely no reference for her material because she made it up, that's why. She spent most of her life in and out of insane asylums, where she finally died in one. Then we move on to the 1970s, and a new generation of lunatics and liars were ready to pick up where Queensborough and the rest left off. This individual helped start the satanic panic that began in the 1980s to the 1990s. In fact, what a lot of fundamentalist Christians don't realize is that people like Mark Wernicke, John, Todd, actually make the world of the cult sound glamorous and powerful with their fake testimonies. Have you ever known someone who told a bunch of crazy crap that you know couldn't possibly be true, but you listen to it anyway because it's amusing? Well, here, meet John Todd, aka Lance Collins. John Wayne Todd, from 1950 to 2007, aka Lance Collins. John Todd Collins, Christopher Collins, was a fake ex-Wiccan who eventually became a real Wiccan, then an ex-Wiccan again, then a real Wiccan again. Collins is the reason why so many fundamentalists, and thus everybody else, is talking about the Illuminati. The Illuminati legend was introduced to mainstream Christians when this mentally unstable man went on a Bible Belt circuit with a bizarre story about how he escaped from a life of drug abuse, Wicca, and the mythical Illuminati, and becoming a Christian. For several years, he managed to fool people into believing his ridiculous story, until a few Christians did their own research and realized he wasn't an ex-Illuminati member, he was just nuts. Todd joined a Pentecostal church in Phoenix, Arizona, and almost immediately became a storefront preacher at the age of 18. He left to do a brief stint in the military and returned to the U.S. to resume being a preacher, and appeared on local Christian TV shows in 1972. This gave him a soapbox for every crackpot needs, because before the invention of the internet, it was hard for crackpots to get their message out. Todd went on from there and made a tour of churches in 1973, telling the story about the Illuminati and its secret plans for world domination, and that Atlas Shrugged, written by atheists and ran that anyone could buy, he said it was the Illuminati's blueprint for unleashing a plan of satanic takeover. It's funny how these conspirators love to leave clues to be found everywhere. Todd's conspiracy fable include Wicca, the Church of Satan, the Mason family, the Knights of Columbus, Be Not Birth, the Process Church of the Final Judgment, the Teamsters Union, the Communist Party, shipping magnate Aristotle Onassis, the Rothschilds, and even President Jimmy Carter, whom he said was the Antichrist himself. And he said he will control the world by 1980. One tape, Todd recounts, a human sacrifice he once attended while in the Illuminati was presided over none other than George McGovern himself. In fact, McGovern's likeness was used for the satanic high priest performing a sacrifice in a chick comic called The Broken Cross, because of Todd's claim. The head of the Illuminati, according to Todd, was the Rothschild family, whom claimed were the gods of witchcraft, and actually the sons and daughters of Lucifer in human form. The Rothschilds are the only Jewish noble family in Europe and have always been the target of anti-Semitics and unfounded conspiracy theories. There have been books published previously that claim the Rothschilds hated the Illuminati, which were read by KKK types. Todd didn't appear to be anti-Semitic or racist, however, but he was simply parroting what he heard. Todd claimed his family was the famous family of witches named Collins. At the time, Dark Shadows was a popular daytime TV show on ABC that featured a fictional family named Collins, which is where he got the idea. Collins is the family where the vampire, the character Barnabas Collins, was a member of. John Todd even claimed the character Barnabas Collins was based on his grandfather, who he called Francis Collins. Todd claimed his real name was Lance Collins, which again was another lie. Todd claimed that he achieved the highest level of witchcraft, Grand Druid. He was told it was just a front for Satanism by Raymond Buckland himself. Of course, they never met. He was placed in charge of overseeing occult activity, drug sales, and politics in 13 states. Although he never mentioned which 13 states it was. This was one hell of an accomplishment for a teenager, considering that he was claiming he was the Illuminati, which was in 1972, when he was only 22. And by the way, Wiccans and Druids don't even believe in Satan. His claims of being initiated into high levels of Illuminati, traveling all over the U.S. and the rest of the world, etc., all happened before he was 22. That is, if you know the facts that he was actually a Pentecostal Christian storefront preacher by the age of 18. In that case, he must have joined the Illuminati when he was a toddler. Todd Collins, claimed all mainline denominations of Christian churches had already been infiltrated by the Illuminati, and that Armageddon was just around the corner, which scared the living bejesus out of fundamentalists who came to his lectures. Todd never officially produced the salt tapes himself, but churchgoers recorded, copied, and circulated the cassette tapes among the lectures among themselves. After a while, Christians all over the country were shuddering in fear of the dreaded, non-existent Illuminati. Todd warned Christians that all rock musicians were witches. Rock music was being used by the Illuminati to brainwash Christians into becoming witches. Some very ugly things were starting to develop with Todd's ministry. He was trying to start to retreat so Christians could ride out the bad stuff with the Antichrist that was going to throw them all in. He told Christians to start reading Guns and Ammo and read the survival articles. He requested Christians hearing his lectures to donate practically anything you can think of, such as wire, nails, material to make clothes, and of course lots and lots of guns. We need guns, 12 gauge pop shotguns or automatic shotguns, nothing else. The next thing we need are 357 Magnum revolvers. 45 automatics are the best. That's what I personally carry. The next thing we need are Colt AR-15. That's the civilization name for M16 rifle. It's a good thing Todd was too unfocused and disorganized to have carried out such a project. Now tell me where that would have gone. Todd went on a 2-year period of backsliding, as he called it, between 1974 and 76. To Christians, the idea of backsliding means someone who stops going to church, watches R-rated movies, swearing, and hanging out at bars drinking. What he did was way more than backsliding. He left the Christian faith and joined Frost's Church of Wicca and established his own coven. His coven consisted mostly of underage girls who later mentioned he had forced sex on them. Due to the uncovered drug use and underage sex, he was ostracized from the witches community and was convinced of contributing the delinquency of a minor and given 6-month sentence, only serving 2 due to his seizures, with the aid of horror comic Bible tract publisher and conspiracy monger Jack T. Chick, a man whose own grasp on reality seems questionable at times. Todd resurfaced in the evangelical Christian community in late 1977, this time claiming the existence of vast satanic conspiracy led by an order of witches called the Illuminati, supposedly including a number of Christian organizations and well-known Christian figures such as Jim Baker, Jerry Falwell, Billy Graham, Bob Jones Sr., Oral Roberts, and Pat Robertson. He claimed to have given, as a member of the Illuminati, $8 million to Pastor Chuck Smith of Calvary Chapel to launch the Christian rock industry, which Todd said was a satanic invention to attract Christian young people into rock music with his demonic beat. He claimed that Falwell has been bought off by the Illuminati with $50 million donation. He even claimed that John Kennedy was still alive and that he was his personal warlock. His claim about high-profile Christian evangelists as devil-worshipping Illuminatis caused an investigation. The hoax was eventually exposed by two fundamental Christians in a book called The Todd Phenomenon. According to Todd's phenomenon, Todd was exposed. According in the book, it was exposed he never belonged to a family line of witches. Records were later discovered by investigative journalists working for Christianity Today, who found out he never been to Vietnam, but was only stationed in Germany for a few months before being discharged for psychiatric reasons and drug abuse. One report concluded that Todd found it difficult to distinguish reality from fantasy. On John Todd's discharge papers, listed briefly that he'd been in the army in Germany as a type clearance. He was not a Green Beret nor Vietnam, he had claimed. He suffered from emotional instability with pseudo-psychological fantastica, which means he was a pathological liar who could not distinguish fantasy from reality. The story about killing an army officer and the Illuminati helping him get away with it was also a lie. Todd claimed he was ingesting large amounts of drugs while a member of the Illuminati. Todd's involvement with Wicca and drug abuse did not actually begin until at the church lecturing tour. Even during his so-called conversion to Christianity, before backsliding incident, his wife and associates claimed Todd combined Wicca and Christianity. Todd frequently made passes at female churchgoers, some who he seduced, and even got his teenage sister-in-law pregnant. Todd's speaking engagements during 1978 and 1979 generated controversy and sometimes hysteria at the churches where he spoke. Frequently, there were claims by Todd of gunshots in the parking lot or attacks on his life after the services, but there was no witnesses to confirm the claims. After his claims of high-profile evangelist Christians of the Illuminati, many evangelists denounced Todd and cut off any further association. One man stuck by his side. That man was Jack Chick. He was the only influential evangelist to continue to defend Todd. Todd came up with such ridiculous stories that it's amazing how people took so long to figure them out. Such as the example, he claimed in one lecture that the Rothschilds were building a new house which included hooks on the chimney so witches could hang their broomsticks when they flew in. Witches don't fly, only in fantasy. He even claimed Mormon and witchcraft creation stories are the same, which they are not. This is what he said. The Mormon doctrine and witchcraft doctrine are almost identical in how the world began, according to witches. Lucifer chose his sons and his daughter, which were married, to come into the world and lead the rest of his little kids down here. Believe it or not, they were supposed to have landed in a flying saucer, and they landed here, and man was just more or less assuming their shape from apes. And they intermarried with man, and that's how, well, the original people were the witches that arrived. Their children became witches, and the ones that didn't marry became mortals. Witches being immortal as a separate race of beings? Sounds like the ABC TV sitcom Bewitched. He even claimed his family had something to do with the TV show Bewitched, like he claimed Dark Shadows was about his grandfather. I bet satanic occult breakfast cereal called Count Chocula is also based on his imaginary evil ancestors. Jake stands by Todd impossible story and continues to publish his fables. In the comic book Spellbound, The Broken Cross, and Angel of Light in the track Dark Dungeons, ironically enough, Chick later produced a cassette tape in the 1980s titled Closet Witches, warning Satanists were infiltrating and running Christian churches, yet ironically unable to see the damage that Todd created. White supremacists such as Christian identity types are the biggest supporters of Todd's stories nowadays. There are also other inaccuracies and questionable claims in Todd's story. Todd claims all politicians are the highest level of Scottish Rite Masons, the 35th level, which is no such thing. Scottish Rite only goes up to 32nd, with an honorary 33rd degree for the so-called evil people such as Ernest Borgian for all the charitable work he had done for veterans. On his right is Joe Flint, who wasn't even a Freemason, because as a Roman Catholic, it is forbidden. But oh, according to Jack Chick, the Roman Catholic Church is part of the Satanic Illuminati. John Todd's crazy story inspired other people to fabricate their own wacky testimonies about leaving Satanism, including wannabe Mike Warnock. Todd and Warnock once met backstage at a church auditorium, and the result was a shouting match in which the two had to be physically separated to keep from clobbering each other. Todd accused Warnock for stealing his act, and he probably was right. Chick continued to defend him and published tracts based on Todd's life. Later, Todd was arrested in May 1987 for the rape of a University of South Carolina graduate student. After his arrest, he was additionally charged with sexually molesting 2 children who attended a karate school where he worked. He was convicted of rape in January 1988 and sentenced to 30 years in state prison. In 2004, Todd was released, but he was put in the care of Behavior Disorder Treatment Unit run by South Carolina Department of Mental Health. On November 10, 2007, Todd died in the institute. Due to Jack Chick making excuses and defending him, this keeps the legend going on even today, where Tex Mars published a series of books on Illuminati but was shunned by fundamentalist Christians after his writings turned anti-Semitic. End-time televangelist Jack Van Imp is one of the biggest promoters of the Illuminati myth. He doesn't buy into the anti-Semitic aspects of it. In fact, he even denounced Tex Mars on his show. Now today, you hear about how several hip-hop artists have mentioned the Illuminati in their songs, instantly causing conspiracy theorists to mark them as Illuminati members, such as Nicki Minaj, Jay-Z, Beyonce, and now Lady Gaga. Conspiracy theorists even blame the Illuminati for the deaths of Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, and Tupac. Tupac was aware that the Illuminati myth was BS, and Illuminati was his way of saying people need to take personal responsibility for their success instead of blaming their failures on non-existent Illuminati. He himself said, "I'm putting a K on that Illuminati shit, because that's what I'm doing. I'm killing that shit. If these mother effers want to kill you, why would they tell the Nation of Islam? Why would they tell people in jail? How do they know? We just need to get the money. I don't give a fuck whose face is on there." He was basically saying we need to face the harsh realities of poverty versus wealth. If Illuminati is so secret, how come everybody knows? By saying he is killing the Illuminati shit, not only is he saying he doesn't believe in it, but he is killing the mindset of those that worry about it. He wants people to open their minds to bigger problems we face in everyday lives. Another way to keep your self-esteem low is about mental obstacles we create to stop our own success. Believing in these conspiracy theories justifies our own failures in life. As long as we believe this, they think they cannot be successful unless they join or sell their soul. People are successful or not due to their mindset. People are successful or not is due to their mindset. Yes, some people in entertainment have made mistakes signing a contract with unscrupulous agencies just to get ahead and they regret it. The closest thing in Hollywood that resembles the fictitious Illuminati is, well, I won't mention his name because they could create problems. Hollywood are filled with many different groups that have nothing to do with each other. Some groups are good and some are shady, and none are actually called the Illuminati. Example, the SBE, party promoters, secret sex clubs such as Sanctum, Soho House, Club 33, the Magic Castle, Hollywood fixers such are crisis managements, secret network of drug users, doctors who want to get close to a celebrity so they will prescribe any drug they want, the Kabbalah Center, the Church of Scientology, the Church of God that's now called the Family International, the Friends of Aid, and the Bohemian Grove. The only Illuminati are title degrees in certain esoteric groups such as the Rosicrucians, which doesn't fit the characteristics of what is mentioned by conspiracy theorists. It is a school where mystics studies and practice the metaphysical laws governing the universe in order to help themselves